welcome to round 4 of the Parenting Roundabout podcast for the week of February 14th. I'm Catherine Halecko, and I'm here with Terry Morrow.
Hello.
And Nicole Eridix.
Hi there.
As moms of teens and young adults, we've survived those little kid days, yet we're still rethinking the decisions we've made all through our kids' lives and worrying about what's going on right now. Today's Thursday, which means it's time to give in to our obsessing. And today we're obsessing about honesty and how hard it is to live it and teach it to our young people. So the Character Lab, which we've mentioned in the past, this is a psychologist Angela Duckworth, right, Terry?
Yes. She sends me tips of the week with articles on this Character Lab website. And every time I get one, I think, hey, that would be a good topic. Thank you, Angela Duckworth, for providing us with content on a constant basis.
So this particular one was about honesty, and it started out by talking about how in times of stress, like just say when there's a global pandemic, it's harder to be honest. It's harder to behave in a honest way, and one thing in the article says decisions to do the right thing are more difficult when you feel like you're struggling, which I did think was a really interesting perspective, not something I had thought about before. And you know, the idea of this tip was to be sure to talk about honesty with the young people in your life. Tell a story about a time when you told the truth and it hurt you, and perhaps a time when you failed to be truthful and regretted it. So these are some tough.
Those are big questions.
Big questions.
Honesty. I don't know if I'm up for the challenge. See last episode.
I mean, a little thing that happened with us recently was my son was not feeling well, you know, just like kind of blah and stuffy nose and whatever. So, of course, I'm like, well, we better get him a COVID test, right?
Yeah.
And our school district offers testing, and, you know, it's free and you can get an appointment pretty easily. And so, so I thought, you know, we'll just get him a quick test and kind of rule it out. So we go, and as after they've swabbed his brain, they say, okay, so it'll be, 2 days or so, and then you'll get a response. And I was like, what? You know, I totally thought I was getting him a rapid test and we'd get an answer in 15 minutes because I just wanted to rule it out. You know, I didn't really think he had it, you know, which I don't know why I didn't, whatever, you know. So then he had to stay home from school the rest of that day and the next day, and he had to miss his driver's ed class because it was after school. And guess what? You can only miss one, and otherwise you can't pass the class. And then he had to miss a second driver's ed because of a conflict with another class he had, which, you know, an academic class was more important than driver's ed. And so then his teacher was like, well, you can't pass the class anymore.
Oh, no.
And so I contacted the agency that does the driver's ed class, and I said, you know, I didn't want him to give anybody COVID. Like, that's
right.
We were being honest about the fact that he, you know, he had some symptoms. So we got him a test. And they were like, yeah, the DMV says we have to enforce that. Like, enforce it now during a pandemic? Like, this is not cool.
Yeah.
But, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
There should be COVID allowances for that sort of thing, but I guess you still need to have the same number of hours teaching you how to drive.
Yeah, I mean, this was the classroom part, so it's not like it was hours spent behind the wheel. So
the COVID thing in the time of Omicron is really tricky because do you, every time you have a stuffy nose, take a COVID test? Do you, every time you have a cough, even though you have a history of coughing every winter, even though you have a history of sinus headaches every winter, do you have to, or do you just say, This is just the winter crud. I'm fine, which is kind of lying because you haven't done it. You don't really know you're fine.
Right.
So it's a shady area in terms of honesty, because if you are super rigorous about it, as you were, you get bit in the butt. So is it, every time you have to think, is it worth all
and also it's the messaging to the child, right? You know, like, well, we need you to stay home because we don't want to get anybody else sick.
Right. Which is a noble goal.
You'd never want to tell your kid, well, we just won't tell anybody that, you took this test.
This is the thing about honesty, is that you want wiggle room as an adult. You have earned wiggle room as an adult, but you can't let your kids see you having it. You have to teach them that, you always have to do the right thing. You always have to tell the truth. Though sometimes you don't want them to tell the truth.
Yeah, it's like trying to teach little kids about white lies and
what's white lies are so hard.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're watching you or listening to you call the school office and tell them that your child is sick, or and there's other occasions that have come up, and it's like, okay, you didn't hear that. We're just going to say this for now. Don't ask why. It just makes life easier.
Yes, it really is tricky, just on so many levels. And, I had one kid who would just basically listen to conversations we had at home and then go to school and repeat them. And it's like, well, it's true. We did say those things. However, we meant them for a limited audience. Right. You don't necessarily have to go tell the teacher all the things your mom said about her last night. This is not necessary. Honesty is good, but there's some discretion. My small learning disabled, developmentally disabled child. Can you please learn them? Forget all the other things. Learn these. So, man. Well, yeah, white lies are so necessary, and yet so morally ambiguous.
They're so necessary to the functioning of human society.
Yeah.
When I think of times that I've told the truth and it hurt me, I think of so many things I said to my mom that were true, but not necessary. And I regret them. Times I did things that I knew would make her unhappy, and I had to go and tell her because, hey, I'm living my life. But really, honestly, if I hadn't told her, it would have been fine, and she would have felt so much happier. So
yeah, I mean, but that's like an omission, isn't it?
That would have been a live omission, I guess. So I guess it wasn't so much that I told the truth and it hurt me. I told the truth and it hurt her, which now that I am myself a mother hurts me. Oh, honey, why did you do? Why? You knew it was going to be hurtful and you just did it anyway.
Yeah.
That's the kind of straight shooter I was. You don't like it? Oh, man, I'm so insufferable. I'm not sure how insufferable I was as a young person. Man, I'm glad I wasn't my mother. I'm probably pretty insufferable today, too, to be honest. I'm glad y'all only know me distantly. Now I'm insufferable to my children, so.
What goes around comes around.
True.
Well, yeah, and I think it's one of those things, too. It's like, you don't always have to do what I say, or
do as I say, not as I do.
Not as I do.
Yes, that's a tough one.
It sure is.
The tricky thing is you always want them to tell the truth to you, and then you can administer what they say to other people. But the whole thing about a difficulty being honest under stress is the thing with my son, which is why, as we discussed last week, it's hard to get a straight story out of him, because when when somebody's asking him something, when somebody's putting him on the spot and he doesn't necessarily know the answer, then he gets stressed and then he just says whatever comes into his head to get out of the conversation. So, and I suppose people without his particular disability do that as well. I'm sure I do that sometimes. You know, when you're stressed, you don't know what to say. You just say something. Just yeah, whatever. I've done that too. I've just said whatever I think the person wants to hear to get me out of the conversation, whether it's true or not, or whether it's kind or not. Sometimes, you know, if you're gossiping and you know this isn't right, we shouldn't do this, but I just would be uncomfortable saying that. So I don't. That's a time where maybe I regret not being truthful. I think back on conversations and think, I should have said something. That was not appropriate.
You mean like should have stopped someone else, intervened when someone else was saying something?
Yeah, people are saying unkind. I was at like a church thing, and there was a table of women, and we were having breakfast, and they started talking about, let's just say, another group of people in a very derogatory way. And I just got up from the table and walked away because it made me uncomfortable. But I should have said, hey, ladies, we're here for a church thing. You should not be talking like this. What is the matter with you? And I'm sure they would have been all defensive, and it would have been very uncomfortable for me for the rest of the workshop. But it's wrong. And I should have said so. So, but it's hard to, I didn't participate, but I didn't stop it, which is what I should have done.
Yeah, that's very hard.
It is very hard.
And that's something you want your kids to do too, but like, how do you teach that or model that? Because
especially when you know that
how hard it is.
If they do it and you will be so proud of them, but it will destroy them socially for the rest of their schooling.
Right.
Like, maybe just walk away, sweetie. It's fine. Let me model that for you.
As with most parenting issues, these are just, they're, fraught. It's fraught with choices. Right. What do we do, right? How do we deal with it?
Absolutely.
So, but we're really good at giving parenting advice, and you shouldn't have to question what we tell you to do.
We would never tell a lie to you listeners.
No.
Never, unless it made for a good topic and it just and a funny joke. Then,
yeah. Then we consider it.
It's for a good cause.
Yeah. Well, that's it for today's Round 4. Tune in tomorrow and we'll share our roundup of things that we've been using or enjoying lately that we think deserve a shout out. Find all our episodes at parentingroundabout.com and talk back in the comments there, on our Facebook page or on Twitter, where you will find us at Roundabout Chat.